To the Jake Asman Show on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Jake Asman.
And the Milwaukee Bucks are headed to the NBA Finals to take on the Phoenix Suns. 118-107 is the final.
Marv Albert for the final time on TNT with the call there. So the Milwaukee Bucks get it done even without Giannis for the last couple of games. They go into Atlanta and they redeem their game for a loss and defeat the Atlanta Hawks to win the series, as you heard there, in 6 games. So now the 2021 NBA Finals are officially set. And this is one of the more unlikely matchups we've had in recent NBA history. Go back over the course of the last 20 years, and you can make the case that this is probably the most unlikely matchup. Because usually when we've had kind of like an outlier team that gets to the finals, they face a team that was expected to be there, right? Like go back to that Dallas Mavericks team in 2011. Unlikely finals matchup because of Dallas, not because LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh and the Heat made it. You'll go back to the finals just a couple of years ago where you had Golden State against Toronto. Toronto was unlikely to be there. The Warriors had KD. They were in the midst of their dynasty. Toronto was the more unlikely team, and that team still had one of the best players in the league in Kawhi Leonard. So that seems like a bit of a stretch that I'm even bringing up. Like, give me some recent NBA Finals matchups that have two teams that seem so unlikely to get to where they are. It's hard to come up with one off the top of my head. It really is. You could go back to the Magic when they played the Lakers, but you still had the Lakers, that Dwight Howard Magic team. Like, it's very rare to have two teams that are unlikely to get to this point. Now, Milwaukee going into the year was more likely than Phoenix because they had the Greek Freak. They had been to the conference finals a bunch, but watching the way the year played out, it didn't seem like Milwaukee as a 3 seed was going to be the team that get it done. And here they are in the NBA Finals. Whereas Phoenix came into the year not expected to amount to what they became, but it became clear if you watched them in the regular season and then throughout the playoffs, this team was really damn good. So this NBA Finals, I mean, it's going to be a one-off. I don't think either one of these teams are here next year. Like, if you say, Jake, which team's more likely to get back a year from now, I would guess it would be Milwaukee because they're the younger team with Giannis, and the Suns will have a 36-year-old turning 37 Chris Paul. He could opt out. Do they re-sign him? There'll be some talk about that when we get to the offseason coming up. But it's such an unlikely matchup that we're here. Next year, you would expect Kawhi and the Clippers to be healthy, although you can't count on that. Denver should be getting Jamal Murray back. We will see what the Lakers look like with LeBron getting healthy and Anthony Davis getting healthy. So this is one of the more unlikely finals I think we've ever had. You could go back to even last year, and I see Jason in Jerusalem just made this point on Twitch, the Miami Heat getting to the finals last year. Like, that was certainly an outlier team, and I'm sure the bubble had a lot to do with it. But look at who they went against, right? They went against the Lakers team that was expected to be there with LeBron and AD forming last season. So this matchup tomorrow is unprecedented. This matchup that begins tomorrow, Game 1 in Phoenix, is really one of the more surprising matchups we could have had. Like, I can't think of one that is quite like this. But I think this matchup is one that will be the ultimate litmus test about the true power of the NBA. Because you have an NBA Finals that features a team from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Phoenix, Arizona. 2 mid-market cities. What will the ratings be? Will they be diminished? Will they be, maybe back to what they were back in 2019? You don't want to compare anything to last year because it's in the middle of the pandemic. It was out of season. The finals were pushed back. But what will the ratings be without a KD or a Steph Curry or LeBron James in the NBA Finals? What will they look like? It's going to be a litmus test to kind of see where the NBA is in the pantheon of sports rankings. We know football is by far and away number 1. College football would be number 2 as far as ratings. where would the NBA ratings stack up for this finals? It will be a fascinating litmus test. As far as the matchup on the court, I think as a basketball fan, I'm very excited about this matchup. See, I'm good without having LeBron in it for a year, or Steph, or KD. I'm okay with that. Every once in a while, I think it's nice to get something different. And Bucks Suns, just a bit different than what we've had. Just a bit. A team that is upstart, a team that missed the playoffs last year, and the Phoenix Suns, they're in the finals. And for Milwaukee, it's a team that's underachieved, small market, but they were able to re-sign their superstar long-term before the year began. And maybe the basketball gods were on the Bucks side, that they got to play a Nets team that was banged up. Maybe the basketball gods were on the Bucks side, that they got to benefit from Kevin Durant having really big feet, and that his foot was on the line on that that two-pointer, I should say, that could have won the game if it was a three, that instead ends up being a two that forced overtime in Game 7. So this is a finals of the most unlikely of matchups. That doesn't mean that it's still not a compelling matchup. This was Monty Williams, the head coach of the Phoenix Suns, on the matchup with Milwaukee.
It's the finals. You expect their best, and we hope to counter that with our best. We've watched all the games that we played against them in the regular season, and they were highly competitive games.
Highly competitive is right. These two teams, I think, are evenly matched. I think the difference in this series could be, simply put, the health of Giannis and Antetokounmpo. If Giannis doesn't play in Game 1, can he come back for Game 2? He injured himself last Tuesday. Game 1 is tomorrow night, right? So that'd be a full week that he has been off since he hyperextended his knee, which, as far as severity-wise, that was probably the best-case scenario for the Bucks. Obviously, worst case would be, he tears ligaments in his knee, ACL, he's done for not just the playoffs, obviously, but potentially for years to, for next season as well. It's cliche, but I really think the health of Giannis will decide the series. If he could get back by Game 2, I think the Bucks have a chance. And if he could get back by Game 2, and that gives Milwaukee a boost, and they could split in Phoenix, you feel good about their chances. But I do think these two teams are evenly matched, but the health of Giannis, that's what it's going to come down to. This was Mike Budenholzer, head coach of the Bucks, on his team advancing to the finals.
What a roller coaster of emotions, especially this series, but, the series before and opening with Miami and, how good they are. And so just impressed with the resilience of the group, the character of the group. They just they have a focus and an edge that's put us in a good place, put us in an opportunity to keep playing. And so you got to deal with all those emotions, all the, everything that goes into each round. And this group has been able to do that. It's impressive, but, we got more to do.
The reality is the Bucks season will come down to the health of Giannis, because they can't win without him. They can get by a Hawks team with a banged up Trae Young without Giannis. You're not getting by Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns without Giannis. So the health of him will really be everything here. It's the only other way to put it. Are you excited, though, about the NBA Finals? Are you good with the matchup, or do you prefer having the same old with LeBron or Steph or KD in the matchup? 800-224-2004 is the number if you want to weigh in on the phones. If you're watching on Twitch or you're watching on Facebook, you can comment your thoughts in the chat box, and we will read the best responses over the air. Once again, the number 800-224-2004. Richard in West Virginia has called in. Richard, start us off this morning. You're on the Jake Asman Show.
Okie dokie, Stokey. I'm thinking that it's going to be a compelling series, whether or not Giannis plays or he doesn't, because he didn't play in the last two games. I don't know. I'm having a hypnagogue. Who's that other player that's just as big and tall as him that took over him? What's his name?
Well, he's not as tall as him, but you're talking about Chris Middleton, who played well. But Richard, the Suns are far better than the Atlanta Hawks. They're going to need Giannis if they're going to win.
Yeah, better than the Atlanta Hawks, but still, I think it's still going to be a very close series. I think that Chris Paul, I don't know, when he was, because he's been either traded or left certain teams. Would he be considered a superstar, Chris Paul? Is he in the category of like, well, he's not going to be LeBron James, Kevin Durant, or something like that? Could his name be mentioned with the greatest players of all time, Chris Paul?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Richard. I'll tell you what, I think Chris Paul, he's certainly one of the best point guards of all time. At age 36, to see what he's still doing, there's no doubt he's one of the best players ever. Now, is he Magic Johnson? Is he Steph Curry? Is he any of those guys? Not yet. Certainly winning a ring here will help his case. He's one of the best point guards of his era, though. There's no doubt. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Every team Chris Paul has went to has drastically improved their winning percentage in season one that he got there. I mean, you can look it up. It's ridiculous. So Chris Paul is certainly still playing at a superstar level. He dropped 41 points in Game 6 in a closeout game. So, yes, Chris Paul, I would say, is still considered a superstar. Now, if he opts out, should the Suns give him a 3-year deal at age 36? Well, if you win the championship, you might have to bite the bullet and just do it, because I don't know if you could not re-sign him, right? But we'll worry about that down the line. But is Chris Paul a superstar? Absolutely. Ultimate Warrior writes in, I'm pumped for the finals. So I think if you're a real basketball fan, you are still excited for the NBA finals, and you should be. I think if you're maybe a casual sports fan, maybe you're not as in tune with Phoenix, in tune with Milwaukee. But if Giannis plays, you still have him. Chris Paul still a superstar in this league. He's been in the NBA for 15 years. Fans know who he is. Devin Booker's a young, ascending star. There's enough here where you should still get into it if you're a sports fan. Are the ratings going to bear that out, though? That remains to be seen. That's what I'm fascinated by. This will be a fascinating litmus test for where the NBA is at. Having an NBA Finals without a LeBron or Steph or KD. I mean, I believe this is the first final since 2010 that does not feature LeBron, Steph, or Kevin Durant in it. I believe that's the stat. This is the first final since that Laker-Celtic 2010 finals that doesn't feature one of those three players I just mentioned. So this is certainly different for the NBA. There's no doubt about that. 800-224-2004 is the number if you want to weigh in on the NBA Finals. Coming up next, we get to the baseball from over the weekend. If you thought the Yankee loss the other night to the Angels was bad, if you thought that was rock bottom, well, rock bottom was reestablished yesterday in the first game of a doubleheader between the Yankees and the Mets. We get to the Yankees, the most underperforming team of the 2021 baseball season, next, right here on the Jake Asman Show on Sports Map Radio.
Wake up call!
They still make Big League Chew?
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush about this product.